Huh.
Okay, so I demoed the files, how they work, what the idea there is. They are now very smooth. I don't have any fret stuff grabbing me at all. Like I said, by the time I get these things crowned, polished, go over the ends, they're all polished. It's going to be extremely slick and playable. So the next phase on this thing is to, and I'm debating whether I want to go fight with that Les Paul or I want to start. I think I'm going to look at my reset on this, and it's been drying for a week now. It's actually right at a week, and I've just got some stuff here glue wise that I'm going to clean up. Explained this pretty good on the last guitar I did, the Gibson that I videoed. I'm going to back bevel in here right against where the heel rests on the guitar, and that way when I start removing material down here at the very point tip of the heel, I will it will be very easy to take off what little bit I need to move. And but initially I'm going to clean this up, double check the body joint, clean that up, dry fit it all again, and then just run my straight edge over it and see where it's at. Since I've lessened the relief in the neck, and I clean this joint up and push it all back together, I want to see where it's at right now. I will probably put the jack back inside the sound hole, jack it up to my original position so I know exactly what I'm dealing with. I don't leave the guitar sitting around with the jack in it. I think fairly obvious reasons. I just don't want to have that tension on there all the time. I know if it's got strings on it all the time, it's got tension on it, but it's pushing against the back in order to give you that simulated top lift there. So I don't want to have the jack pushing the back out. Don't want to do anything that might tweak anything permanently, and not that it ever has, but why not be careful now? I'm rambling again. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean up my mess here. I've got quite a bit of stuff scattered around. I'm going to get the body back out. Last thing I want to do is bang the body into something or get it into a little piece of metal that I got left over here that I missed from the frets. So I'll do a good cleanup before I bring the body back over. Yeah, I'm going to shut you off and go do that. Bring you back in later. Okay, I'm back. So I went ahead and just put the camera back on the tripod. So you can see I've got this piece of what I call grippy. It's just shelf liner basically, but it's a good pad. So I can just set the guitar once again on this bench down here, this stool, and then I can just bring this around. Take one of these Irwin clamps and just I like to catch it right on the edge of the guitar, but right on the not in past where there's support, and then I'm coming back over to this piece of 1/2-inch MDF that I have screwed onto the board to the bench here. So then I can do the other side. And then do the same thing, grab another one of these clamps. And again, I'm just catching right at the very edge, and you don't need a lot of pressure, just, it's really solid. The whole, well, I just hit the wrong buttons. The whole bench is wobbling rather than the guitar moving. So now I taped into the hole here, and then I put the neck in and I traced it. And then I took the tape off again and laid it on a clean spot on the bench, and just razor knifed the radius or the neck knot straight, so you can't just pull straight across on that. So I did both of those, put them back in, a little bit of gap so I could see what I'm doing. I was already pretty close with what I took down to my line with the chisel. So I started with 100 grit, and actually I was a little up on this bottom edge, and I was touching in the middle. It's touching kind of from the middle all the way to the top here, so I kind of just had this a little bit too much of a angle on that. So I slipped paper in, and I pretty much just pulled it through to, you know, down to around here. I didn't want to pull it all the way out the end because I didn't want to take any more wood off of that. Anyway, it's a process, and as you do it, you kind of get used to what's going on with it. I worked my way through the grits. I say that. I went from 100 to 220. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm at the 220 stage. I'm going to take the, with my visor on here, it actually looks really good. I clamped it in, which makes it pull down really tight to where it's going to be. And then I checked strings on the net to the bridge to make sure the string lay was good on the neck, and it parallels, both strings parallel the edge of the neck really well. I don't have to move it one way or the other by removing more material on either one side of the heel or the other. So it's all there, it's down good, it's flush. I'm going to pull the tape off so that I can get even closer because of, you know, the thickness of the tape, and I'm going to use probably 350 or 320 because I was at 220. So yeah, I'll go down to 320, and I'm just going to do a couple pulls from the, you know, all the way from the top all the way out, and just to, you know, just to smooth out any kind of little imperfections there. Then the neck, as far as the fitting is concerned, is good. Then what I have to fit are shims on the tenon, right? So, and I'm going to peel this paper off of here. There were some scratches right up in here, kind of. I mean, they weren't in the grain, or they were just kind of willy-nilly, and I don't think I did that. I know that I was pushing my separator knife, you know, in along here, but I didn't start out here with it and push in, so I don't see any way I could have caused those scratches. But I went ahead and shot some naphtha or lighter fluid on that, and sanded. I sanded across this opening here because there was still a little line of lacquer sticking up, and I wanted to take that off anyway. But since I saw the scratches, I went ahead out a little farther and sanded that to 400. And then before I get everything put back together, I'll take it up to 1,000. And then once everything's back together, I can buff that section back out. It'll buff right in with everything else. On the Gibson that I videoed, I said I didn't know when I was taking the neck off if it was going to be stained all the way through, because it didn't seem like it had a lot of lacquer coming up on it, but it hadn't been stained, so it was stained with the neck in position. This one was stained with the neck out of it, because you can see here that it's just dark under here. It's even lacquered actually, so it's been stained and lacquered, and then the neck set. And I don't know if they shoot a little more on top of that, because it does have a bit of a rise right there, but they don't shoot much. So it doesn't leave you with this huge lip of finish here, which I definitely run into on the lower end guitars. And I mean, you really have to compensate and then do a lot of fill when you put the neck back in, because the finish is so thick, and that's kind of a drag. So anyway, now I'm going to go find some 320, which shouldn't be too big of a task, since my folder with my papers right over here. And the reason I take that for the preliminary stuff is because I don't want to get grit on the back side of the paper and pull it through the joint and be scratching this stuff cross-grain. It's not it's cross-grained to the wood technically. It's not cross-grained to the finish because the finish doesn't have a grain. By the time to get to this point, you're not scratching wood, but it still goes against my grain. Bad pun intended. All right, so there's a piece of 320. Gonna pop the neck in. I'm pretty sure you saw this process on the Gibson. I'm just gonna. Can you see the process? Maybe I need to pick that up a little bit. All right, and maybe now that it's picked up, and can you see now also that it's definitely stained in here? No white or lighter colored wood poking out. All right, so I'm gonna do that. Just gonna pick that up, just let it rest on there. As I pull this out, I'm pulling down here so that I don't pull up and pull wood off the end of the heel. So we want to pull down. Gonna do that a couple times. Okay, I'm gonna do it over here. Okay, I did one extra over there, so I'm going to do one over here. Put my visor down so I can see what I'm doing here. That's really nice and tight right there. Pretty tight. It's really tight all the way across here. I can see a little teeny bit of a gap right in there with my visor on, which I probably can't see with the naked eye or with my glasses. I can't see it with my glasses, so it's probably not as bad as it looks in my visor. I don't want to drop it in. I can't take any more wood out of here to drop this thing. It's exactly where I want it to be. When I straight edge back to the bridge, oh, you know what I did? I had this thing clamped in. And what I mean by that is when you clamp it, you pull it all the way into the joint and it stays down in there. You have to knock it to get it out of there. Even though I don't have the tenon shim jet. I put the strap, took it off and put it on the bench, and I straight edged the thing, and it was, I don't know, it might have been a 32nd or so above where I wanted it to be on the bridge, and I'm thinking, like, oh crap. And then I remembered I didn't have the jack inside, holding the top up where it goes, and so I put the jack in, and it was right where it needed to be. So I had a moment there. I don't think any of you guys have ever done anything like that, where you think you screwed up and then you didn't. Yeah, of course you have. Okay, so that is pretty stinking dialed in right there. And so I'm going to turn you off again, and I'm going to fiddle fart with the shims inside, and I showed you on the Gibson. I actually just did a few pieces of masking tape piled up on the edge, of the, get over here without banging the guitar, right down here on the edge of the tenon. I went ahead and put a couple pieces of masking tape and got that to where it tightened up and held everything in really super well. Pulled that out, pulled the tape off, and measured the thickness of it to know how thick of a shim I was going to need to glue in. You still have to glue in something a little thicker than you need, and you still have to sand it down and work it in, and get the thing to where it's, because if the tenon's too wide down here, it holds you up off the top of the guitar. So you have to just file it down to the exact perfect spot to where when you do that last clamp, it'll push into it. It locks in. It almost stay there without glue. They're so tight. So that's the process, and I may or may not. I'm going to probably glue shims on this thing and let it set, and then while I'm still got some time today, I'm gonna do some more work on the Les Paul. So there we are. I'm gonna shut it off. Talk to you next time. All right. So let's see. Figured out where I need to shim the neck at, and it's pretty surprising. Let me get this out of my way. I don't want to leave this here. Even though I rounded all the edges on it and all that good stuff up here where I might accidentally tap it with the guitar, I'm not going to leave it there in the way. Put it over my pile of things like that I build, and probably forget I have it the next time. Build another one. So I'm gonna get all the clamps and crud out of here. Little pieces of sandpaper. That. All right. So it's my typical cleanup, which is to say I just throw it farther away on the bench. All right. Shaking off. Wiping off the pad, putting that back. So I'm going to show you what I did. I started out with a little more on it. I ended up having to peel some off in order to see. I might be zoomed in. Yeah, got just these little pieces of tape. Let's see if this light helps. I got little pieces of tape right down here on the very end, and just that one. I'm not kidding. One thickness. I started out with a full thickness all the way, one thickness, but all the way up the tenon, and I could get it in most of the way, but I still had about 1/8 of an inch underneath, into the fretboard there. It wouldn't pop in, so it wouldn't. So it wasn't seating all the way in. It was snug, but it wasn't seating all the way in, and I could rock the neck this way, back and forth a little bit, because it was loose up here still, even though, because it wasn't seating all the way up there. So let's see, what did I do? I just started tearing the tape off down each side a little bit at a time to see if I could get it to slide farther in, and when it got far enough, I was almost completely in. I doubled up down here a little bit so that I would see if I needed a thicker, because at that point I was still able to push the neck up a little bit at the very bottom. When I had it clamped to the body, I could still push it up a little bit. But that's when I still had tape down the side here, but not, probably about halfway down. And with that down there, I still wasn't quite bottoming out, so I wasn't far enough down for this to be in its final tightest point. Ended up, I had to pull all that stuff off. I put just these two little pieces right on the very tip of the thing, and when you put it in there, it goes down, it seats with pressure, and this is tight. I mean, it is so tight when you can't rock it side to side, you can't push back on it and pull it out of the joint at all. And then I tried, because I wanted to make sure it was tight up here as well, so I pulled the tape all the way off, stuck it back in, clamped everything down. I did not have any side to side movement. I could push it back because I didn't have these two little pieces in it. But that's very, very minimal shimming there. So said all that, I guess, to say I had this Spanish cedar, just a very, very thin ripper of this. I don't even know what it is, but it's way thicker than the tape. But there's no way I'm going to be able to thin it out and even get it to the point where you thin it out enough and glue it on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue it on the thickness it is, and then I'll just take my little trusty tenon sanding block and work it down quite a bit, and then I'll chalk the mortise and work it in and get all that figured out. It's not much of a process, really. It sounds more than it really is. So right now it's at 28 thousandths. Piece of tape, This is crazy. 5 thousandths. So all I need is 5 thousandths on either side. Actually, you know, that's 10 thousandths in that joint, and as tight as that joint was originally, apparently it didn't lose that much as I pulled the heel off there. So okay, that's it. I'm going to turn you off again. I'm going to just glue this on here, and like I said, I don't know what time I'm going to take my watch off to get my... Oh, it's getting late. I'll probably just get this glued on and call it a night. Yeah, and then next time I see you, I'll be sanding this down and fitting it. If I bring you back for that, you know the process. So probably, I don't know, we'll see. I like to get as much of this in as I can so you have some continuity through the whole project. I've been debating, because I've got, this was a fret job. I got the fret job on the Les Paul. I've been debating just doing a kind of a series on frets, not a specific whole build process. Maybe just isolating one facet of it. But we'll see. I think you, for sure on the Les Paul, because that's primarily what I'm doing there, other than the fact that the chipboard is all, the chipboard, that's, the fretboard was all chipped to smithereens. So it's actually, maybe that's what's under there, chipboard. Oh well, I'm gonna glue this on. I'm rambling. Later. Hey, there again, I don't know where this is going to end up in the end of the, you know, in the process of the video. But anyway, thank you guys. I had some new subscribers. Thanks a lot.